What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. My name's Kyle. I'm joined by Jesse today. We are going to be doing a Dynasty Power Hour for you guys. It's April 19th. The NFL draft is next week. Jesse, how are we doing? Are we excited?
It just came up so quickly, man. It's here. Can't believe it.
Yeah, it's
our hometown.
It just feels like it's been dragging for the last couple of weeks, and then it snuck up on us. So I'm just ready. Like I've been so bored with mock drafts and just reading just the same information on people. And now you're getting like people that we're excited about. And now you're like, people are just picking every little piece of their game apart. And I'm just ready for it to end and get into our rookie drafts, which I think that's going to be the focus of today. It's really hard to project like outside of like the top 10 or 12 players, like what's going to happen, because landing spot's going to be so huge. But I think for the most part, we have a good idea on who the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks are going to be. We have a good idea who the top 3, 4 running backs, receivers, and then there's a couple tight ends that we like. So I don't know where to start. It's pretty clear Cam Ward's going to be the first overall pick. But I think this is not a great QB class. I think you would agree with that. And if you need quarterback in your super flex draft, like we're probably not even taking Cam Ward number 1 overall. I was just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on his value, and how excited are we about him with the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of success in Tennessee in a while. Will Levis was never really like the uber hyped guy, but a lot of people, in this quarterback class, Will Levis looks pretty decent. So it's like, how much better are they going to get going to Cam Ward? For fantasy, we're probably getting a little bit more rushing upside, so maybe we're a little bit more excited about it. But I don't think Cam's as big of a rusher as we're hoping maybe on the next level. But yeah, in Tennessee, it's hard to get too excited about it. I mean, who's he throwing to?
Yep. I just pulled up their depth chart, and it's pretty bad. I mean, we're talking Calvin Ridley, which is fine. Treylon Burks is listed as their number 2 receiver. They brought in Van Jefferson, and then they have a bunch of guys of like James Proche, a guy named Bryce Oliver, Mason Kinsey. Those are their top 6 receivers. So I think it's safe to say they're drafting a receiver at some point for Cam Ward. Maybe it's Restrepo from Miami too, just a little bit of a nice little tandem there. The tight end is fine, Chico Okonkwo, and then you're talking Tajay and Tony Pollard, which is a good running game. But I don't know like how juicy this offense will be for Cam Ward. I think it's probably something 2026 that you can get excited about. For this year, you're probably eating it with him. But like, how many blue chip dudes are in this draft class? I think it's Genty, and then you can maybe make a case for Hampton. And there's nothing that excites me about taking Cam Ward first overall if I need a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's a running back class. This is the draft where you're like, if you're weak or thin at running back, the rest of your team's looking good. You're like, maybe you trade some of your depth to get some of these running backs, especially once we figure out where the landing spots come into play. Yeah. Obviously, we know like with Gianti and Hampton up at top, you have some other sleepers down there like Henderson. We're trying to find out where he goes. Judkins, if he could land in a really sweet spot, that could be really fun.
Is there any spot that Genty can go that makes you like disappointed?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're looking at the Raiders, the Bears. I'm not certain if there's any other team that kind of sneaks into the play there, but those kind of feel like the 2 big landing spots. And I think I'm pretty happy with either one of those, because we've seen now with the Raiders, we've seen them, have success with running backs that we aren't necessarily high on. I mean, look at Amir Abdullah last year. He came in there and he had some really good games in the playoffs in Chicago. DeAndre Swift, that kind of just didn't work out. He's probably sticking around there as maybe like a change of pace option, but he's just we've seen his career over time. He just never really been able to be the starter. So I think you really like that pair him with Caleb. That's a pretty exciting offense. If he slips out of those 2, I'm trying to think if there's anybody where I'm like, oh man, not here, because like then you have the Cowboys who probably take him at 12, and I'm like, wheels up.
I'm trying to think of teams that would maybe trade up to hop a couple teams to get up there, and like the Cowboys are on the list, but there's a chance that Genty could slide to 12. But after that, like the Dolphins aren't doing it, the Colts aren't doing it, the Falcons aren't doing it. I don't think the Cardinals are going to do it. The Bengals at 17, just doesn't seem like a move for them that they would trade up for a running back.
No, definitely not.
And then it's the Broncos who are kind of locked in and have been looking at Hampton, it seems like. So I think there's really no way that I'm going to be disappointed where Genty goes. And I'm at this point, he's locked in for me as the Superflex 101. I think if you have the 101, even if I needed a quarterback, I'm still taking Genty. And then we get into that number 2 discussion where I think you could have probably Cam Ward slide in there if you need a quarterback, but it's looking like Hampton should be probably the 102. Because if he goes to the Broncos, I think you're pretty like that's a pretty exciting landing spot as far as pass catching and just being attached to Sean Payton and a young quarterback. I think you can get really, really excited about that. So if I have the 101 or the 102, I'm pretty stoked to take a running back. And then after that, like we just have tons of questions.
Yeah, I mean that's like if you hold the 103. I was kind of thinking about this before the show. Like if you're the 103 holder and you kind of just need a little bit of everything, are you trying to just swap that for a young guy, let someone else kind of take their pick, or are you like just trying to zone in and get the guy you want? Because I guess 103. I mean, Cam Ward is on the table, Ted is on the table. Say Travion Henderson goes early round 2, maybe he all of a sudden becomes enticing at the 103, or do you maybe go and swap that 103 for a young up and coming guy, or like. I'm just throwing names out there. Maybe like someone offers you Puka for the 103. Like, like I'm probably taking Puka on that situation because there's a lot of more question marks at the 103 than say, a guy like that.
So I might be willing to take Travis Hunter 103. That's probably where you first have to start thinking about him.
That's the biggest question mark in the draft, right?
If he goes to Cleveland, I think he's their best receiver. We know he's going to play corner, but just hearing like the GM for Cleveland the other day said that he's a receiver. So we're going to have some projection here, and especially like whenever he gets drafted, we have to listen to those interviews about how they want to use him and what they think of him. But dude, there's not many guys that come around like Travis Hunter, and I think I'm willing to take a swing on the upside because his upside is insane. He could be one of the best receivers in football.
I mean, Matt Harmon, wide receiver whisperer, gave him the Odell comp.
Yeah,
and he doesn't just comp to comp for views. He when you get the Odell comp, that's pretty big.
So for me, I think if and this seems like a draft class that overall is pretty disappointing, but I kind of want a top 3 pick because I'm guaranteed one of the 2 running backs or first crack at Travis Hunter, which seems pretty good to me. Because after that, like we have questions on McMillan, and we've seen McMillan go all the way to New England at 4, and I've seen him slide far down into the late teens. And I just
almost
don't
to the
know.
Packers. I mean, almost as far as the Packers. Do you think? I mean, so like when we first this draft class came out, we were dissecting it, thinking about it. Ted was the slam dunk number 1, and then all of a sudden it's like maybe the last month or so. Do you kind of feel like it's kind of a lack of news? People just kind of stir stuff up. This is the smoke and mirrors. I mean, Ted, when you look at the profile, is like he is the guy. He's got the body. He's got the size. He's got the stats. And he's just not the fastest guy, but like. A guy like him doesn't need to be the fastest guy. He does. Des Bryant wasn't the fastest receiver. Cortland Sutton's not the fastest guy out there. Devontae's not the fastest guy, but they win with their bodies, and they just catch everything in their radius.
It seems like the biggest question people have had on him the last few weeks is can he play inside and be successful like a Drake London? That's what we're going to have to find out with him. But we know he's really good on the outside. So I do think that even if he can't play inside and doesn't get a lot of slot reps, you're still looking at a T. Higgins type profile, which when T. Higgins is on the field and healthy, like he's a borderline top 10, top 12 fantasy receiver. And he doesn't, hopefully McMillan won't have a Jamar Chase level talent to distract from him. If McMillan can be the team's number 1 receiver, like again, we're looking at a T. Higgins plus situation, which feels pretty safe. Like his floor and landing spot's going to be huge. If he goes to the Patriots, I'm super pumped about it. If he goes,
what if he goes to I was thinking about scenarios too. I was going to say like about you buying or selling. So you're buying the Patriots?
I'm buying the Patriots. I don't think the Giants are going to entertain him at 3. I would be pretty shocked if the Jags take him at 5.
That could be interesting. I mean,
I don't think If he goes to Jacksonville, I'm pretty excited. You're attached to Trevor Lawrence.
You know what's funny? You were like, we don't think he's going to have a Jamar Chase talent on the opposite side, but then all of a sudden the Jags with
Brian Thomas.
BTJ and Ted would be very, very interesting.
I think the Jags are probably looking at replacing the Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram roles in this draft class. Like they already they have McMillan with Brian Thomas Jr. I think it would be weird if they were to duplicate that. But it could be a fun landing spot. We don't think the Raiders are in on McMillan. The Jets at 7 intrigue me a little bit. They do need a big bodied outside receiver, but I think they have other problems where if McMillan goes to the Jets, we're probably not as excited being attached to Justin Fields being, again, now with the Garrett Wilson type talent. I think that would probably push him down my board.
I think
Carolina's the one spot. Carolina's the one spot where I can't quite figure out if I'm excited because he would be their best receiver, but are we buying the Bryce Young little resurgence that he had in year 2?
Yeah, that's the one. It probably keeps his value almost flat to where you're not super excited, but also he was a top 10 pick going to be the number 1 with Bryce Young. And then it's kind of like, all right, well, how does Bryce Young look this offseason? What are the coaches saying? How's his processing going? Because that's kind of the big thing for him. It's like, we know he's got the talent. We've seen flashes. It's like, is he putting it all together in year 3 here?
And if he does get the top 10 draft capital, I think that really just puts a pin in the doubts, I think, and teams are pretty excited about him, and I feel good about that. Because I don't see him really sliding. The Saints at 9 they have so many things to look at where I would be shocked if they take McMillan. Yeah. So maybe a team trades up to that 8-9 spot, Carolina, New Orleans. That could be where you're looking at to get a guy with Ted. If a team trades up for him, I get way more excited about that than if he just falls to Carolina and they just collect him. Like if Dallas at 12, dude, if that's the one spot where if he were to fall past the top 10, I think Dallas at 12 would be the one where I'm just like, hell yeah, let's and there you go. You have the Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb situation there.
But it's fun. I mean, it's really good for fantasy because they throw enough where you're not too concerned there. I almost feel like that's my favorite landing spot. If like the Cowboys jump, say Carolina or something, and grab them, that would be that'd be very fun.
So let's just say you got Amari and Hampton. You're up at the 102. You got Hampton on the Broncos, and you got McMillan on the Cowboys. That's pretty even to me.
Yeah, that feels pretty good. I mean, especially because when you're thinking about from a dynasty lens, like while running backs maybe carry more value as rookies, like wide receivers just tend to stay in the league longer, so they just have inherent value built in because of the longevity. So I mean, I guess it's probably a little bit team dependent on like how what do your running backs look like, what do your receivers look like. But I usually, if it's a coin flip, I'll give the edge to the receiver.
And then Travis Hunter is going to be a Cleveland Brown, yes.
I mean, that's 2. It seems like they're hyping it up, and then, I mean, that gives Giants Abdul Carter, which is kind of a nice consolation at 3. I mean, if he goes that high, it's going to be hard not to get excited about the ideas of him in Cleveland.
Are you, if we do get the McMillan Cowboys spot, does that still put him ahead of Travis Hunter for you, or do we have to think about it?
Yeah, I mean, if we get either Patriots at 4, a team like the Cowboys getting him, I think that gives me Tet over Hunter.
Okay.
Any other situation where Tet maybe slides a little bit, or if he goes to Carolina, because I mean, honestly, Carolina, Cleveland, not too different of spots, especially when you think about like Cleveland's probably not going to be good this year. They're maybe going to be in the sweepstakes for
Arch.
Yeah, for Arch. So that'd be kind of, a lot of pieces need to fall, but you get excited about the prospect of that.
And Hunter just seems like the guy that could just be good without having a quarterback that is good. I think McMillan probably needs his quarterback to be good a little bit more. So I just from a safety standpoint, I think we know Hunter's really, really good, and I think he can survive a bad situation. And it's probably not going to get any worse than Cleveland with what they're rolling out this year at quarterback. So I don't know. But we kind of have like a top 4 guys that we're liking. We're liking the top 2 running backs, Genty and Hampton. And I think McMillan and Hunter, these are top 5 picks. And in a super flex draft, the top 5, you can throw Cam Ward in there. I think we've kind of established that as our top 5 tier. But then after that, like landing spot and draft capital, because we can throw in guys like Matthew Golden, Emeka Ibuka, and then those Ohio State running backs. I think all these guys are very exciting, but again, we don't really have a spot where we can lock them in. Is there any spot where Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end, can go that makes you want to think about him being a fringe top 5 pick?
I struggle taking tight ends super high early in their career just because, the Brock Bowers of the world are like, it's so rare. It's so hard to find that. Like, when you look at the landscape of tight ends, like who's the top guys, it's not these like high profile guys. I mean, Travis Kelce was not first rounder. George Kittle, I don't think was either. Brock Bowers was a kind of a unique situation. Sam Laporta was a great year 1, but then we saw the regression year 2. Dalton Kincaid, another guy that was a first round tight end that we're like, now I have questions about exactly what is he going to be. So I don't know how high I'd be willing to take Tyler Warren. I mean, what's his best landing spot? I see a lot of Colts projections. I hate that. I hate it.
That's a whole different conversation with the Colts. Like, I don't know what we're gonna get there. If Anthony Richardson is the dude and they do draft Tyler Warren, I'm pushing Tyler Warren down. If Anthony Richardson flops, that might actually be good for Tyler Warren's value if they can get somebody in there that can hit him consistently. I'm looking at the players the teams in the teens. You have Chicago at 10, which for some reason Tankathon they have Tyler Warren going to the Bears at 10. Can we? Cole Kmet's good. Can we just use him? The 49ers aren't taking Tyler Warren. The Bears at 12 seems weird. The Dolphins have Jonnu Smith. I don't know if they're thinking long term, and they really don't use tight end as much in that offense. So the Colts at 14, that's kind of the spot that we start to get excited about Tyler Warren. Any teams that could trade up for it? I just don't see teams trading up for a tight end. I would get excited if they did. But I'm kind of wondering if Tyler Warren like we have him as top 10, top 12, but I don't know if I see a team taking him that high.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe one spot that could be kind of fun just based on they just lost their 2, veteran receivers, the Seahawks getting Sam Darnold, maybe Tyler Warren or Loveland. Maybe that's the plum spot for a tight end because you got JSN coming in there, but he plays all over the place, so he'll probably obviously be number 1 in targets, but then number 2 is pretty wide open, especially when Cooper Kupp's there. But is he like, what is left of Cooper Kupp?
So you hit on Seattle, and I was just going to bring up this run from pick 18 to 20. It's Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Denver. I think Cade Otton's a replaceable tight end. I think he's fine. But if you put Tyler Warren with Baker Mayfield, I'm pretty excited about that. If you put Loveland with Baker Mayfield, I'm pretty excited about that. The Seahawks do need, after JSN, I don't know who the number 2, I guess it's Cooper Kupp, but for how long, is he going to be able to play? And then Denver, if they don't take running back there and they elect to go tight end, I think I'm pretty excited about that because they used like 5 tight ends last year, and they need one guy to kind of just get all those points. So I'm looking in that range for a tight end, but I don't know if there's going to be. I don't think there's a landing spot where I want to take Tyler Warren 6th overall. I think he's more of a late first round pick. Yep. So we have the Ohio State running backs, which I think in my rankings right now. Let me just look at my Superflex rankings. I have like Luther Burden, Matthew Golden, Henderson, and Judkins. Those are kind of my next tier of players off the board after the top 5. And you can throw in Shedeur Sanders. I think there might be some Jackson Dart steam where he could go ahead of Shedeur right now, which would be kind of cool to see. But that's kind of the group we're looking at. I don't know if there's any other, like I guess Ibuka too. If those are the next 5 names, how do we filter those guys out as of today without knowing where they're going?
Yeah, I think the only name I'll personally add in there is who's growing on me is Scatabo. He's kind of growing on me. I mean, I think his receiver chops are fun. I think he can be a every down back in this league.
That surprises me.
Yeah,
But you like Scatabo.
I started watching some tape on these guys over the
Yeah,
last week finally, and like,
yeah.
yeah, he's not great, athletic numbers, but I think he's just a grinder, man. I think
Dude, he
he's
was the first running back I watched in this class, and I think I remember sending you him in, like, February, and I'm like, "There's something about this guy
he's just
where
got it, man.
I think he's like a John Gruden grinder,
He's a
dude."
football
Like,
player, man. He's a
yeah.
football player. Like he's gonna give you everything he's got, and that's the kind of guy you wanna cheer for. And when he's soft with his hands too, man, and he's slippery, man. I mean, big body, slippery back, kind of gives me a little bit of a Leonard Fournette vibe. So
Okay.
I I don't. I mean, Leonard Fournette had some really really nice years in the NFL. So
So
I
he without thinking about it too much, he reminded me of Austin Eckler. Um, just the way he plays with just this, like, I don't know, like it's like a toughness
yep.
that Austin Eckler has, and he's just so subtle with the ball in his hands. Maybe not the running style, but I think from a toughness and physicality standpoint, I like Scatabo, but if he's the third run, if he goes ahead of the Ohio State guys, then we're talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Judkins for me is, I guess, what is he gonna be? What's his
He's
role look like in the end?
he's kind of like a Najee type to me.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, Henderson, he's more of your receiving back, which I don't know if he's ever going to get a full workload. So we're talking about like some niche guys, whereas Scatabo could be your every down back that just continues to log 1,000 yard receiver, 1,000 yard rushing seasons with like 40, 50 catches. But so we're only projecting the two running backs to go in round one, right? Hampton and
Yeah. Definitely.
Gentry. If
Definitely.
if any of the other running backs sneak into the first round, we're probably locking them in as RB3, right?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, you don't care who the name is, first round running back. You click and you reap the rewards, at least in the first couple of years.
So I'm looking at Chicago in round two. They have pick 39 and pick 41. They probably are doing a ton of study on these running backs. If they take Caleb Johnson, I think I'm interested in Caleb Johnson more than I would be to be their version of like a Jordan Howard first and second down guy that can get the short yardage and the goal line work.
Mm-hmm.
But if they take Scatabo, or I don't think Henderson fits them because of the DeAndre Swift comparisons, but then Judkins would be a good spot there too.
Yep.
I think if the Bears take one of those backs, I'm pretty excited about them being the third or fourth back in this class. But any other running backs besides the Ohio State guys, Scatabo, was there anyone else that you've done some digging on and thought maybe this guy could be something?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my list now, and one name that I am kind of intrigued. He had really good early career stats in college. Was Ollie Gordon
Yeah,
at Oklahoma
Oklahoma
State. I mean,
State.
just
Yeah.
came out in year two really good, and then just kind of fell flat in year three. But I mean, still, guy who catches the ball, size wise, he's what you want. He's a big back. You want big receivers who hit hard and can catch the ball and look competent. And I mean, receiving numbers on a big back is kind of what I mean, that's what Scatabo is just like
Yeah.
so interesting to me. So he's there. Outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of names, and it's going to really come down to where these guys land.
Yeah. I
I
think
mean,
Friday night's going to be super fun. Like I have a list of like 8 names here, whether it's the Ohio State guys, Caleb Johnson and Scatabo, those are kind of the next group. But names like RJ Harvey, Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson, and Bashal Tootin. You can throw in Ollie Gordon and DJ Giddens. Like there's a ton of dudes that could go round 2 and 3. And I think that's what's going to that's where those guys are drafted and where they get the capital. That's what's going to basically round out the back end of the first round of our drafts. And then as far as receivers, like, have you done any study on Burden and Golden and Ibuka at all?
I haven't gone too deep into the receivers yet. Just kind of, my initial thoughts when I first, kind of just scanned through everything at a high level was, not a lot of names. We're not going to see a ton of round one receivers, I don't think, this year.
If you had to set the number at like 3.5
Yeah.
or 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, Ted, if we're counting Travis Hunter as a
Yeah.
receiver, that's kind of one. I think Golden seems to be getting enough steam that he gets in there, and then Burden, and maybe Igbuka. So
So we got
five,
5.
so 4.5 is probably my number.
Okay. The Tankathon list that I'm looking at, they got Ibuka and Burden just outside round 1, going
Yeah.
34th and 35th overall. I think Ibuka is probably the safest just because he's a very clear slot role.
Yep.
And
like it.
talk about teams in the back end of the first round, whether it is starting with the Packers. I think that could be really exciting. The Texans, they do need receiver help just with losing Diggs and Tank Dell's injury. But they brought in Christian Kirk. So maybe that's like a patch for them where they don't have to look at a slot receiver. The Rams probably not drafting a receiver. They got Puka. And who else do the Rams? Who are the Rams throwing the ball to this year?
They who did they get? They scooped someone up. It's Tutu and the wide receiver. It's Puka, Adams, and Tutu. So
It's Devontae. That's who they got.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll cross the Rams off the list. The Ravens probably not taking Ibuka. The Lions probably not taking Ibuka. But what about the Washington Commanders? They have Debo and Terry McLaurin. They tried drafting McCaffrey last year. Don't know if that's going to pan out. Washington's a sneaky one. I think they could be looking at receiver here as they know they need some juice. And then Buffalo, Kansas City Eagles.
I mean,
Buffalo's
always. You never know what Buffalo's going to do. And I mean, they certainly could use. I mean, they grabbed Josh Palmer, so maybe they're just happy with letting Josh Allen figure it out with these guys.
I would like to see Luther Burden on that team because I think you can move Burden around and get him the ball. Like they don't really have that guy that can just drop off the line of scrimmage, catch a quick screen, and do some damage. They need someone like that. But this whole back half of the draft, from basically the Packers to the Eagles, pick 23 to 32. I don't know if I see a lot of receivers going in that pick.
Yeah, I agree. It just makes it tough to my 4.5 is probably even too high. It probably needs to be like 3.5.
I think it's 3.5.
After the Broncos, who's
the Chargers, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
I've seen a couple mock drafts where the Steelers get Ibuka, but I'm looking at this one right now and they have Jackson Dart going to Pittsburgh.
Just doesn't feel like the Steelers go receiver. I don't know.
This just feels like Kenny Pickett all over again with them kind of stuck in the 20s, needing a quarterback. But I do think Jackson Dart profiles a lot better than a Kenny Pickett did. And let's talk about Jackson Dart for a little bit, because if he does go to the Steelers, I think we're excited about that.
I mean,
that probably puts him into the top 10 for Superflex discussion.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, he goes QB2. He goes to a Mike Tomlin team where Tomlin just has proven time and time again he figures out how to get into the playoffs.
So let's say Shedeur goes to the Saints and Jackson Dart goes to the Steelers. How would you rank QB 2 and 3?
Where are we putting Shedeur?
The New Orleans Saints.
Oh God. I think I'm taking Dart over Shedeur.
I think so. Yeah. As far as other teams that need quarterback, like after the Saints at 9, you got the Bears, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Colts. They're not going to take a quarterback in the first round. Maybe they take a late guy just as number 3, but the Falcons are good. The Cardinals, the Bengals, the Seahawks, the Bucks, the Broncos. None of these teams need a QB.
Yep.
So if Shedeur falls and he's in the 20s now, that signals like a little bit of a red flag. And that's where I think we could see Jackson Dart go ahead of Shedeur. Because then after the Steelers, the Chargers, the Packers, the Vikings, the Texans. What if the Rams get crazy and they take like a Jackson Dart? I think that would be intriguing.
That actually could be a decent landing spot for a rookie to sit for a year or two. That was kind of the next one on my list. Just like it's not great immediately. So like it becomes a situation where, if anyone goes to the Rams, they're probably not going in the first round of your draft. But if you could like grab a second round guy and wait a year.
I just had a little lightning bolt go through my brain. if Shador slides to round 2 and the Browns come away with Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders,
Oh my.
that's fun. That
That's gonna fill seats. I mean, that is going to
that
sell tickets in a year where everyone's kind of down on the Cleveland.
well, so we just talked about all those teams that aren't taking a quarterback at the back end of the first. That's where Cleveland maybe gets a little interesting and they move up with a team to try to get back into the first round to get Shador Sanders. I just want to look real quick because I think there was a list of players who are attending the draft. I just want to double check this. It was like 17 dudes.
17
Jackson
guys.
Dart's going. Jalen Milroe is going. We haven't even talked
Yeah.
about Jalen Milroe yet. But you got Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe as quarterbacks. Shador's not going.
Yeah, Milroe, the ultimate projection quarterback, right?
I would be shocked if he goes round 1. I think round 2 feels pretty safe for him to a team like, I don't know, maybe the Saints in round 2. Maybe that's what if they don't want to take their guy round 1, the Saints round 2, I think could be interesting. The Jets probably aren't going to do it, but that's a good backup for Justin Fields, and you can see what happens. I just don't know what's like the best spot for Jalen Milroe to go.
I mean, honestly, it's probably back up Jalen Hurts. Find someone who's similar to his style and just let him sit and learn.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're talking like, somewhere where he can eventually be a starter, like who's kind of, maybe like the Raiders take him late.
That could work.
I don't think Milroe's going to go as high as, unless people are really building hype on him. I mean, maybe like a Miami could be somewhat interesting. Like
they've needed a QB2 forever. I just don't know what that offense would look like they've tried Huntley and a couple other weird running style quarterbacks as their QB2. Yeah. Maybe there's some excitement there if that does happen. But let's say someone trades up for McMillan and he is a first round pick. We have to kind of reevaluate that.
It's going to change my whole outlook on Milroe.
Yeah, sure. That's going to change our outlook.
Because honestly, what if the Colts in like the second or third grab him, and then all of a sudden he just outplays A-Rich? It's a very real possibility. We've seen 2 years of A-Rich and it doesn't look like a top 3 pick to me.
What if Daniel Jones outplays A-Rich though? That could. So there's a lot of That's what worries me is I don't know if the Colts are going to take.
They're probably not.
That just invites a circus of we got a triple tryout here for our starting quarterback spot. But yeah, so we kind of touched on the quarterbacks. I'm just wondering, is there any other names? Like there are some good quarterbacks that I like, whether it's Will Howard or Tyler Show from Louisville. Those guys, I think, if they go be backup somewhere, I might be interested in like my last rookie pick here. Any other sleeper receivers? I have a list of Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, Jack Beck, the guy from Stanford, Alec Ayomanor. I don't know how to say his name. And then Kyle Williams. I think that's a really interesting group. I don't foresee any of those guys sneaking into my top 10. Maybe Trey Harris if he gets the early round 2 capital. A lot of that's going to get shifted out with draft capital, but did any of those names stick out more than the other for you?
Yeah, I think we've discussed Trey Harris a bit. There has been some water thrown on that, but I still like the profile. I still like what we see from Trey Harris. And I think we just trust Ole Miss is starting to turn into a place where, they have an eye for finding receivers. Just kind of like not quite Ohio State level, but we've seen some big success here, and so you kind of just maybe put a little trust into what the team's doing over there. But the profile is good. He's kind of improved, and categorically every year he's been a receiver. He's a little bit older, so that always dings receivers, running backs. He's a 23-year-old. But we've seen older guys be able to have some success. So don't want to completely write it off. Just kind of have to ding it a little bit.
Tankathon has him going 68th to the Raiders, which maybe that makes him like a really early second round pick, I think, in a super flex draft. They also have Quinshon Judkins going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Whoa, that would be
That'd be nasty.
That would change some things. You put Judkins with a early round 3 capital on the Chiefs. That's probably locking him into my top 10.
Yeah, I mean, anytime a skill player goes to Kansas City, we get excited, right? We finally maybe, he always gets overhyped, always overdrafted. Maybe Xavier Worthy finally kind of lived up to the bill, right? We've seen a lot of years of bust after bust going, the Sky Moores of the world.
All right,
Clyde Edwards.
If this scenario happens, I want to know how high you're taking him. Travion Henderson goes to the Cowboys at pick 44. What are we doing?
Oh, man.
I think he's a top 6 pick.
I mean, we just want to see a stud running back in Dallas, and I'm pretty confident that whoever they grabbed Javonte, right?
They grabbed Javonte and Rico Dowdle. Rico just ran for 1,000 on this offense.
They have Miles Sanders.
Did they sneak him?
The ESPN depth chart has Javonte, Miles Sanders, Deuce Vaughn. Because Rico signed for.
He went with Carolina.
Yeah, he went Carolina. So basically Sanders and Rico swapped.
They have Javonte and Miles Sanders. Wow.
I mean, that is the leftovers
retirement home.
Yeah,
it's a retirement community.
I mean, if they take a guy at 44 overall, I'm pretty much putting him ahead of all these guys.
Yeah. You put Scatabo on that sucker?
Please. Give me the
That
juice.
could be fun. But I do really, really like Henderson's game. I just don't know if a team's going to give him everything because that would be what would unlock him. I think after the top 2 guys, we're looking at some niche type running backs, but Scatabo is the one that excites me. I'm just trying to see where they have him going over here on Tankathon. They have him deep. 86 to the Chargers.
Whoa.
They have Dylan Sampson ahead of him going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's one of the teams that I think is a sneaky spot to take a running back. I kind of like a Judkins type with them or a Caleb Johnson that could be their first and second down banger. But Dylan Sampson on there that's like a fun lightning body type there.
That's way late. Wow.
And yeah, it's hard. Every website is just different. Like Tankathon can say one thing, but then I'm looking at PFF and they have their different, they have these guys viewed as way different things. PFF has Scatabo ranked as RB3. He's their 51st ranked player. They have Dylan Sampson, the Tennessee running back, ranked 55th, and he would be RB4. RB5 is Caleb Johnston. RB6 is Travion Henderson. Quinshon, that's at 6 now, at 66. So we're talking a lot about 4 other running backs that could go in round 2, and then they have a handful of guys here with top 100 grades. We're probably seeing 6 to 7 running backs go on Friday night.
Yeah, I think Friday is going to be a really fun day for the bulk of like dynasty players.
Yeah.
You're going to see maybe we'll get a sneaky surprise receiver that goes. I mean, I feel pretty good that like Igbuka and Burden probably have a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Talk to me about Golden. Honestly, these Texas guys, I mean, Isaiah Bond obviously has slid a little bit, but what do you know about Matthew Golden?
So I would be shocked if he goes top 15, just because I don't see him as an every down, like I don't see him as like a team's leading receiver. I think he's a really good second fiddle. PFF here has him as the 22nd ranked player, wide receiver 3. He's 6 foot 195, which is fine. I wish he was a little bit thicker for that height, but he's a really good receiver. I don't see him becoming a team's number 1. I think Ibuka could easily lead a team in receptions. I think Burden's a type of receiver that could lead his team in yards and just, get some big playability here. Just one big year at Texas. And it seemed like at Texas, who's the little speed guy, Bond?
Yeah.
They wanted Bond to be their wide receiver 1, but that just wasn't happening. So they kind of shifted the back end of the year, and Golden did take over that role. But I just don't know how great of a receiver he's going to be for fantasy. I think like a wide receiver 3 is probably where I would feel comfortable putting him on my roster. He's not quite a Zay Flowers type, but I think that's like his ceiling, being a really good really good receiver who's out there all the time, but just a guy that's going to have his ups and downs and have a couple 1,000-yard season, something like that.
Yeah, he definitely, because he ran the 4.29, I'm sure that probably gets him in the first round. So probably
That
feel
locked him
pretty
in,
good
yeah.
about just checking him in there. He's got the wheels. Teams love speed. The landing spot is obviously going to be big, and it's talking about, it's listening. What do the coaches say about him? Like, oh, this guy's a deep threat. That's not too exciting if it's a guy just coming out there to run goalposts.
Although if you put him on the Chargers, I could be excited about some goalposts.
Yeah, we missed that. I want to see that.
Mock Draft Database has him as like their 20th overall player. The consensus mock draft right now. Consensus mock draft is Ted McMillan 12 with the Cowboys, which is nuts. And they have
Golden just
not missing, and Tyler Warren.
I don't think they have him missing. It's one of those, like, their algorithm, the way it works. It's like whoever the most common player picked to a team goes. So like Golden might be like, think of another. If he's not the most common guy, he's like just getting spread. Like teams are on where he's landing. There's not a consensus landing spot for it, which makes sense because like, who is the consensus landing spot for Golden? I don't know. Is it Seahawks at 18? Is it? Or
Atlanta at 15.
Atlanta.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I clicked on his name here, and they have like 2025 mocks down below. It's the Packers at 23, which I can get excited about. The Chargers at 22, I'd be excited about. Atlanta at 15. It seems like his peak is the Cowboys at 12, which if he does go to the Cowboys at 12, what's the difference between McMillan on the Cowboys at 12 and Golden on the Cowboys at 12?
Probably just like CD more. Maybe CD.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, CD's fine, but like, you give a guy, the guy like Golden out there, that's just going to give CD so much more space in the middle of the field to operate.
The one that's popping up here a couple times is the Texans. I think I can get behind Golden on the Texans. You got Nico, Golden, and Christian Kirk.
I mean, learning from Kirk is, he kind of replaces Tank Dell. I mean, what is Tank Dell ever going to be the same as that flash in the pan rookie year? Probably not. He's just
probably not.
Unfortunate for his career what's happened, but you learn from a guy like Kirk is probably really beneficial.
And did you say Seattle for Matthew Golden? I think that might be the one spot where I'm probably moving him up in my rankings if he goes to Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Darnold, man, really uncork it. So that's
the Addison role.
It's a good pairing. You got Addison, you had Addison, Jefferson, thinking about JSN and Golden. I mean, I have to think Seattle's going. I mean, they need defense, but like, man, their offense looks pretty rough right now.
And Golden's primarily an outside receiver. He played roughly 25% of his snaps in the slot last year. 17 yards per catch. Like that's JSN's going to be your middle of the field dude. And they did bring in Marquez Valdez-Scantling to stretch the field, which he's just going to get. He's going to get some wind sprints, which is good.
He is the king of the 1-year contract.
Yeah, but Golden on Seattle, I think I can get behind, and that might put him for me as like the 6th, 7th, 8th player on the board here, depending on where those running backs shake out. But I could get behind Golden because we know JSN is going to continue to lead that team in receptions. You put Golden on there, that you're probably looking at maybe 60, 70 catches a year.
Yeah, and Golden's probably not slipping, but if you take a guy like Golden and slap him on Washington, I'm just give me Jaden. Give me Jaden the fast boy.
Ever since you said the 4.29, I think that locked him probably in the top 20.
Yeah, it's just it's gonna happen.
I'm just looking at that Seattle at pick 18, and they're probably thinking they're probably done. They've had to have done a lot of research on these wide receivers, just letting DK Metcalf go and thinking, okay,
Lockett's retired. Is he officially retired? Is Lockett?
He's still floating. I don't think he's retired.
Yeah, because he hasn't signed on anyone. He's just kind of.
Well, he's going to the Raiders to play with Pete.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With Geno, 1-year deal.
Yeah, he's going to go to he's only 32, so he's got one more little $3.5 million contract in him.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah. I'll have to watch some Golden tape because I honestly don't. I just know he's fast. I know he's going to be a first rounder, so that probably means I should be seeing what he's all about.
Did you say Golden Tate?
No, Golden. Did I say Golden Tate? I thought I said Golden.
There's a little bit of Golden Tate into his game.
Yeah, I gotta
But
check.
I'm just looking around. Like the one receiver that I'm the most unsure on is Luther Burden because I like the tape. But there's aspects of his off the field issues, and I'm looking at the numbers here. He had a dip in production last year. I think a lot of that can be attached to the quarterback play. But in 2023, where he had 1,200 yards, 86 catches, and pretty much all in the slot. Like he is kind of your version of a really physical slot player. He's 5'11", but he's got 208 pounds. Mm-hmm. So he's a very durable receiver. I'm just thinking any of the teams that we've talked about that need a slot receiver. I'm thinking of Washington. I don't know who's going to be their slot receiver because I think Debo and I think they're going to move those guys around. We know Terry's outside. Can Debo still play in the slot? I don't know. You put Luther Burden on there, though. I think I would get excited about him in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I think Washington. I think we're trying to manifest more weapons for Jaden Daniels right now, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Any other teams that we can think of that need a slot receiver off the top of our heads?
Yeah, man.
I think Houston. I think you could sell me on Houston, but I'm just wondering if that's where Christian Kirk's going to play. But they could mix Burden and Christian Kirk up in the middle and outside.
And you can convince
Green Bay Packers. We know Jaden Reed is going to be the primary slot guy there. So I don't think taking a Burden makes sense. What would be the best receiver fit for the Packers if you had to think about it?
God bless it. I mean, honestly,
besides McMillan,
truly, they need an X. Where is our Devontae? Where is Devontae Adams? We don't have that. We wanted it to be Christian Watson. Just the injuries are stacking up. Everything, history is against him right now. So, I mean, maybe we start thinking about a Trey Harris. Are there any names here that are calling to you? I just feel like we have a bunch of.
I don't think the round one, the way round one is lining up with Ibuka slot, Burden slot, Matthew Golden outside. I could buy that. But I don't know if he's going to be better than Romeo Doubs or Dontavian Wicks right away. Yeah. So I don't know if there's a spot where the Packers can take a receiver round one. So then you're looking at guys like Trey Harris and Jaden Higgins and Kyle Williams and the Stanford guy. You're looking at those kind of role players, and the Packers are going to do what they do. They're just going to grab another tool. Yep. And hope that he can be a useful starter. I don't know if the cards are there for us to grab a stud receiver unless they move up for McMillan. They go up with San Francisco at 11 to get McMillan and poach him from the Cowboys. Something like that, I think, would be exciting to see.
This just popped in my head. We're from Green Bay. We obviously talk a lot of Packers. Talking about this could be their only draft, maybe, depending on how it goes. In Green Bay, it's a lot of excitement. Like, the splashiest thing they could do is just go and get Travis Hunter.
What the fuck? I don't want to know what that would cost, but holy crap. That covers a lot of needs.
That covers a lot of needs, man. That would be crazy. I mean, it's not going to happen, but I was just thinking the splashiest thing, we were talking about that earlier this week, that they could do is.
Yeah, that's a dream.
Sure. It'd be fun, and it'd be super
that makes McMillan seem more doable when you think about Hunter.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, it would. They're probably not taking a receiver in the first round. I think that's kind of the summation here. They're probably going to do what they always do. They're going to take their highest upside player on the board, who's going to be either an edge or maybe a corner.
One question I do have, though, is what if they do take Ibuka or Burden? How do they fit in with what is currently on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the team, it's, Reed is obviously there. He's on, and Dobbs is probably the other guy. Those are probably the two, safest assets from a receiver standpoint that we have right now. The question becomes, does he immediately jump Wicks? Probably, yeah. It says a lot about Wicks if they.
Jaden Reed was 76% slot last year. Only had 89 slots or 89 snaps out wide. So if anything, we're trying to replace the Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs snaps. Because I don't think Romeo Dobbs is back next year, and I just don't know who the best outside receiver is. I know McMillan's the best outside receiver in this class.
Yeah.
So why was Gutekunst the only guy at this private workout? Like, what the hell is that about?
It is weird. It is weird. You would think that like someone like Carolina would be doing their diligence on Ted, or I mean the Cowboys even, or any of these, even the Seahawks for sure. Like what?
Yeah.
Do teams not like him, or is it just maybe the teams know that he's going for the Patriots and they're not wasting their time? You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of uncertainty around Ted. I don't know. I really, what would it cost, and where do you have to go to get Ted if you're the Packers?
Yeah. So man, we're going on about 51 minutes here. We got a little bit of time to go off the rails with anything else that we can talk about. We didn't really touch on the tight ends. We know I think there's 2 tight ends in the first round this year: Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. And then there's 3 other guys that I like a little bit that are probably going to be second and third round picks in your rookie drafts. For me, we've talked about not really liking to invest draft capital early on tight end, but based on where Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin Jr., and Elijah Arroyo go, I'm probably taking a pull on a tight end later in my drafts. I want to get running back early. Round 2, I'll probably take a pull on a receiver, and then it's shaping up for me to look at tight end round 3. I just don't know if you've done any digging on. I know you know the Harold Fannin stats, but this Mason Taylor for LSU is really, really good too.
Mason Taylor, huh? Put it on the list.
Yeah, look into Mason Taylor. He had a really nice off season, and he's climbed up and he's kind of locked himself into the tight end 3 spot.
I mean,
and then there's going to be these day 3 running backs that just come out of nowhere. There's another Oregon guy that Jordan James for Oregon actually outplayed Bucky Irving at times last year or 2 years ago when they're on the same team. We have Trevor Etienne. That's the brother of Travis Etienne. And then we have some weird dudes like Jaden Blue for Texas, who's really fast. We have a converted wide receiver, Brashard Smith from SMU, giving me a little bit of Tyrone Tracy vibes. There's going to be some interesting players that are taken in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds that might be worth late round dart throws. But yeah, I don't know, dude. Any other final thoughts as we get ready? Are we hanging out next Thursday night? What are we doing?
I mean, I'm there. I'm down to chill. I don't have any draft plans. We stream it, talk through it, get some live reactions.
We could hop on. Let's we'll talk about it. I might have to. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have anything going on. I think I'm fine with posting up here and we can watch some things. I just worry about the Packers embarrassing us on national television, just with this city being so small. I'm nervous about it going terribly in Green Bay.
I think, no matter what happens behind the scenes, from a production standpoint, it'll be sound. I mean, it's a draft. It's in Lambeau Field. It is in the most historic stadium in the NFL. It's going to be cool from that perspective. They brought a lot of Wisconsin guys in.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. So I think they're doing the right things. Did you see the music performers they brought in are kind of are interesting.
Yeah, we saw the lineups, but otherwise, I have to try and drive up to Green Bay on Saturday, and I think the draft starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday, so we're probably trying to let the morning traffic kind of clear up because like the Milwaukee hotels are booked. Like even out here, and I know Appleton to Milwaukee, like everything's just booked, but we have to try and drive up on Saturday morning. We have a baptism on Sunday, so we'll see how bad. I'm nervous about traffic on Sunday as everyone's leaving too.
That's going to be the doozy. What time is your?
It's a morning baptism at like 10 a.m. So I would hope that most of the morning traffic is out by then, and then I think we're hanging out at their house for a little bit after. So maybe there's some dispersing of traffic, but Still nervous about the logistics of everything.
It's going to be interesting. I hope the everyone around the country knows how to use roundabouts.
Oh, they're gonna learn. I think the Lineville exit's all torn up right now, so I don't think you can get through there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was closed the last time we were home, so we'll figure that out. But did you have any like wild predictions that you could foresee happening? Give a percentage to the Packers and Tet McMillan. Any wild thoughts?
I mean, nothing out of my mind too crazy. I think Shadir falling out of the first round, maybe not too big of a surprise. These running backs, man, maybe we get a third first-round running back. The Packers trading for Tet, I'm going to put it at about 12.5% chance.
I was thinking 18. I was thinking 18%. So okay, so you're saying there's a chance. There's going to be at least one or two names that were like, what the hell? They went in the first round.
Always.
So I think the third running back's in play. And then I do think one of the bigger bodied receivers, whether it's the Stanford guy, whether it's Trey Harris, whether it's Jaden Higgins, I think there's room for one of those guys to sneak into the back. It just seems like every year they kind of sneak in. Mm-hmm. Last year it was Ricky Pearsall, who we didn't expect. There's always one of those kind of crazy situations. And then Jackson Dart to the Steelers. I think he goes before that.
Oh, okay.
I think Jackson Dart
certified QB2.
I think I'm going to be, if I had to lock in my rankings today, I'm probably putting Jackson Dart as my QB2 over Shadur. So we'll see. I'm just excited, man. We'll talk about Thursday night. But any other final thoughts for the good people, or basically enjoy your Saturday? It's the last Saturday.
Easter's weekend, baby.
Yeah. Happy Easters. We got a Bucks game starting in a couple minutes
NBA
too.
Playoffs.
It's a good Saturday. So anyways, guys, thank you for hanging out. We'll see you. We'll do, you got a busy schedule coming up, I know, but we'll have to try and get a draft recap rookie ranking show scheduled at some point, but we'll figure that out. Thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you soon. Peace. Got me feeling icy.